sky. That's the message.
Welcome back to another episode of Give Me Some Truth International, or Dame la Verdad, Dites-moi la vérité. And our guest today can probably, according to his LinkedIn profile, speaks Bengali, so can probably tell us how to say, give me some truth in Bengali. We welcome today from Kubera.com, Rohit Nadhani. I think I got the pronunciation right. Welcome, Rohit. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Keith.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great to have you here today, and look forward to talking to you. I was doing some research before the podcast, and I was curious as to why you guys chose the name Kubera for your firm, and we can talk a little bit more about what Kubera does. But I think it is an apt name, but I wasn't familiar with why you guys picked it.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I'm Indian, I'm from India, and Kubera is okay. So let me step back. In India, you have multiple gods, and some say that you have hundreds of millions of gods, and Kubera happens to be the god of wealth. And as I was trying to start my next fintech company, that to in wealth management, what could be a better name than Kubera? So it is the god of wealth. And at the same time, it's not very hard to pronounce because there
Yeah.
could be some Sanskrit names, which people who are not familiar with that language would have a hard time. So it has a nice flow to it, and it also has a deeper meaning. And in fact, this is not everyone knows about Kubera, but Kubera is so rich, the god Kubera is so rich that he gives out loans to other gods.
Oh, wow. Because I did see something that he was the treasurer of the gods. So that I wasn't sure if it was like he kept the ledger books, but apparently, yes, has to keep the ledger books for loans to the other gods and so on. And we were also I was laughing with a colleague of mine in the office that the nice thing about Kubera, too, is it avoids the common naming convention that we see with so many firms where it's a name, it's a word, and they drop a vowel, right? Like gooder or gitter or grinder or tinder or something like that. And I think it's unique and it's a memorable name. That's great. And in that you had mentioned that you had come from India. And I think one of the interesting things is, as you know, and many of our listeners may know, our firm, Walkner Connon, works with expats. And so I think it's one of the unique things about Kubera is that it's actually shaped by your journey in some sense, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So I'm an immigrant to America. I moved here 10 years ago. A bit of background about myself. I have done multiple companies. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I sold 2 companies in 2018. And for the first time in my life, I had liquid wealth. So before that, all my wealth was pretty much in the private shares of my startups. So when I kind of got some liquidity, I started diversifying for the first time in my life, and just like stock, bonds, and real estate, but I was interested in alternatives, hedge funds, crypto. Made a few investments as an LP in VC funds, and soon everything became unwieldy and complicated. And I'm a tech entrepreneur. I like to try different types of fintech software. So there's this new neobank, Revolut, and then I had a bunch of money in Coinbase. So I'm trying all these applications, and my money is getting scattered, and I'm getting stressed out. It is not a function of the quantum of money. Maybe you have just put in $100 in Revolut, but the fact that you have put that $100 and there is a possibility that you'll forget about it and money will get lost, gives you a lot of anxiety.
Well, especially in the crypto world where you see all the stories about guy has, $3.5 billion on a zip drive that he forgot the password to or that sort of thing as well, right? So
yes, yeah, no, absolutely. And in a unrelated, like random event, I was actually caught in a riptide in Costa Rica, and I had to be rescued. And when, as kind of, I was able to hold it up for a few minutes, and I was thinking about it, the entire situation, that if something happens to me right now, our families at there is a possibility that our family is going to lose some of the wealth because they have no idea that I have a bunch of crypto in private hardware wallets and how they are going to retrieve it and all of that. And so I kind of got more serious and put everything together in a spreadsheet at the first step.
And as well, I think one of the reasons we like working with Kubera is many of our clients go the opposite direction, leave the United States and go to India, but also Europe, South America, other parts of Asia. And what happens there is many of the tools that our clients use are focused on the United States and in the United States, obviously for a multiple bunch of reasons, because it's the biggest market and the most kind of sophisticated wealth market, and there are lots of folks like you who've come here and made a success and that sort of thing. But what pushed you to also start thinking about global markets and working with things around the world?
That was kind of the default state for me,
Mm-hmm.
and our co-founders. One of my co-founders has moved like 3 countries, so that was pretty much our default state. It apparently is a big deal in hindsight. Okay, you have multi-currency by default, and you can see your net worth in both, USD and this other country where you have spent some time on. But it was just default for us. So I always had a bank account in India, which I still keep. I have some, other heirloom and stuff like that in India, which I want to kind of store it in a safe place. And then we have, of course, we have bank accounts and brokerages on all these assets in United States, and I have made a few international investments as well. And it's also kind of an aspirational thing. As I'm building wealth and tracking my net worth, I want to track it in both currencies. Right now I want to track it in USD, but there is a big like dream aspirational side of it where I grew up in India and I want to dream about wealth in the currency that I grew up with. So when I was like child or teenager, I had some aspiration. And that's kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
And that can never become US dollars.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and so I mean, like we said, that's really one of the amazing things is that it allows our clients to toggle between investments, the valuation of their investments in euros and valuations of their investments in dollars, and kind of see it live updating, which is great. And it's very funny how when you live in a country for a while, your mind shifts and you start thinking about, okay, that's when you first move, it's like, okay, and I'm sure you did this, I did it when I was in euros. Okay, that's about how many dollars. And then at some point it shifts and you start thinking of, okay, instead of, in your case, oh, this is how many rupees, you start going, oh, this is how many dollars. And a lot of our clients, even though we tend to work on US dollars, our clients think in euros or pounds or rupees or yen or whatnot. And so the ability to toggle through and think in those terms, I think is very helpful, especially as you said, in that aspirational way. Oh, I'm going to need, 1 million pounds to be able to retire. What does that look like with my dollar investments involved in my house value and so on and so forth. Now, one of the things that Kubera does is it plays well with systems around the world. And what is it that you guys did that's sort of different that allowed that to happen? I mean, what, I see on your website, for instance, a comparison between your firm and Mint, for instance.
So Mint was started, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. I don't remember, but they had from day one hard coded the product just for America. So US dollar is pretty much hard coded in the system. And as I said, we are immigrants and we started this company like 2.5 years ago. So we've kind of built it for ourselves. So even not only we do multi-currency, which is on the surface, but there are many nuances of multi-currencies. Like the way, for example, we talk about millions and billions in United States, where it is crores and lakhs in India. and they are not interchangeable. There's no equivalent of millions. In India, a million is I think 10 lakhs in India or something like that. Or yeah, a million is 10 lakhs in India. So we took care of that, and then the way this entire software works is you don't go most of the time you don't go and directly talk to a bank. You work with an aggregator, and the aggregator have got all these relationships with hundreds of thousands of banks, and they supply you the data. So in a software that is primarily designed for United States, they just talk to one aggregator which caters to United States banks and financial institutions. And we knew that we are going to be multi-currency from day one. So we designed a system where we are not tied up to one aggregator. We went ahead and made partnerships with multiple aggregators in United States and internationally. The thing about aggregators is it's a lot of business development and kind of, I would say, kind of a political situation as well. Some aggregators are friendly with some kind of institutions because they have done some deals or data sharing agreements. So it's not that you go to one aggregator and it will give you data for all kinds of institutions. So we made partnership with multiple aggregators here in the United States, and then we made partnership with local aggregators in multiple geographies. So we have, for example, we are partnered with a local aggregator in New Zealand. We are partnered with a local aggregator in Canada and Middle East. So having that multiple aggregators gives us the ability to connect to all kinds of institutions and get very high quality data from across the world. Because these local aggregators work really, really well with the local banks and brokerages in that area.
Yeah, no, that is perfect, and I think one of the interesting things too, that even if you're just U.S. Bank and using your product, is it will suggest the best aggregator for you to use for that particular relationship. So if you bank with, Summit Credit Union or U.S. Bank, your product will pick the one that will have the most secure link, as I understand it.
Yes, and that kind of stems from the fact that we started out as a B2C product only. B2C is like business to consumers, which means that we started out as a product that consumers can buy or license for $150 per year. And then we ended up signing hundreds of thousands of these consumers before we launched a B2B product, which you guys use and roll it out to your clients. And since we started off at a B2C product, and because of the sheer volume of data, we know exactly which bank or brokerage works well with a particular aggregator at real time.
Mm-hmm.
And we are constantly monitoring that situation. So whenever a new user comes and say wants to connect to a bank, we know which aggregator is working well at this point in time, because the aggregator can promise you anything, but we know exactly the quality of data they are giving in the last 24 hours or 1 week. So that gives us a unique situation, that puts us in a unique situation where we can pick up the right aggregator for the bank.
Yeah, and now just kind of I want to come back to the aggregation idea as well, because what it sounds like as well is that the way your product is built is that it can keep improving, that it can use this data to continue to make the experience better for your clients in terms of security, but also, strength of links and so on and so forth. So, you started the firm in 2019 and we're in 2023, I believe now. What are some of the things that you've seen on your side in terms of improvements in the experience of Kubera?
So multi-currency, multiple aggregators, because when we started the company, connection was a major issue. It still is. Connection issues account for, believe it or not, 90% of our support tickets. If you've got good quality of data, it's like after that, I don't want to trivialize what we are doing, but it's like glorified number crunching, on top of that.
Yeah.
So we spent a bunch of time figuring out the best connectivity possible. And I think we have continued to improve over the years. We have multiple aggregators, and we are also being supported by a bunch of tailwinds, because not only have we partnered with multiple aggregators, the institutions have also gotten their act together, and they have published better APIs, and they know the importance of, giving good quality data to their customers. Because now, once upon a time, the institution wouldn't care about giving high quality data because they had a certain amount of lock-in. But I know at least a bunch of customers who have come to me and told me, hey, this bank does not work well with Kubera. Can you recommend a bank that works well with Kubera? Because I don't care about the savings rate. Like bank A versus bank B is a commodity. Each of, whatever they are, all of them are giving me 2% on my savings account. It's a commodity. But what I want is a bank that will let me access my data. That's my data, and they have no right to kind of, block it. And I think that some banks have realized this, and they have started working, they have fast tracked their API initiatives. So things have gotten much, much better. We are not there yet, but it's much, much better.
No, that's interesting because what you hear from I used to work at a large brokerage firm and bank, and they wanted everything on their platform, right? Because they wanted to have that data, but also it made it easier to, in the term of the industry, gain wallet share, right? And I think these aggregators are making it clear that the way people operate is they're not going to put all of their trust in one institution, in one asset, one group, one thing, and that ability to move among multiple platforms with their money. And just because of that's how life works as well, right? We see it just in the United States. You might have your investment accounts with Charles Schwab. You might have your banking with your local credit union. You might have a 401k with a major firm, a Fidelity or a Morgan Stanley or something like that. And the only way that you can bring all of those together is with good data sharing. And so what you aim for then is a product like Kubera, where it's more integrated and more flexible for what you do. Right now, just for some of our clients, Kubera is very similar to, we use a program called Advizon. I would say Kubera is more, as you said, built for clients. We use it with some of our international clients, but for us as well, there are other things that we use behind the scenes, I would say, Advizon for that are not, that it's built more for perhaps the financial advisor and so on and so forth. But Kubera, particularly for our international clients, offers all of these things that we just haven't found a good substitute for. And so we think it's a pretty cool product for just being able to keep track of the assets and those sorts of things. And, on your side, the other thing I was sort of curious about is, you co-founded this company with other people. What did everybody bring to the table? Were there programmers? Were there other fintech people? How did you kind of put the team together?
Honestly, we never think of our team like that, and it's a very unique situation. It's not common, but so most of our team members, like I would say 80 to 90% of our current team, this is our like third company together.
Wow.
So we just keep the same group. In fact, when we sold our second company in 2018, we didn't want to start another company for some period in time, but then some people of the group said, hey, we want to do something, so I said, okay, I more than Kubera, I wanted to hang out with that group again. And then, and that's how this it is very different with my first company, where where I had to hire from the outside. Hey, you are the CTO, you are head of revenue and things like that. But this company, like you're just a bunch of friends hanging out together and yeah.
Well, I think it shows as well in the customer or client experience, because one of the things that we are constantly amazed by is how well when people have difficulties with their connections or those sorts of things, how well we get feedback from our clients saying, hey, they took care of that problem right away, or yeah, somebody got back to me, they proposed this fix, but they also said, hey, we know this is an issue and we're looking at it long term. So I think at least in our experience, clients can definitely feel that from you guys. So that's really cool. That's a fun experience. Just anything else you wanna share about Kubera? We're kind of bumping up against our time limit, and you're a busy man as well. Probably a lot going on still on Friday. But anything else you want to share about Kubera, or where you guys are headed, or anything like that?
I think when we started Kubera, that we want to simplify wealth management, because as before starting Kubera, also I got pitched by a bunch of wealth management firms, and while they were giving me great advice on the wealth management side of things. They invited me to a bunch of client portals. And as a software guy who lives in Silicon Valley, I was absolutely not interested in because this looks like most of the portals were like looks like they were designed primarily for financial advisors where they wanted to make the financial advisors happy and not the end user.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them because they are getting paid by the financial advisors and not the users. I don't blame them. That's their business model. So I wanted, and that kind of, that I thought we have to kind of flip this over. We want to give the power back to the client. Like the client should have all the power, have all the insights. And then the financial advisor should be like a trusted friend. Okay, I know, like I am standing on this platform and now help me instead of getting through this all this complicated reporting and Monte Carlo simulations and all of these things. So that's pretty much so. Whether you're a consumer or you work with a financial advisor, I think you will get a bunch of value out of Kubera from day one. And it's pretty much, you can get to an accurate net worth in less than 20 minutes. And it's as simple as that, and then there are a bunch of features. I don't want to rattle all of them, but you can get to an accurate net worth in 20 minutes, track your net worth over time. That will bring behavioral changes. If, for example, you are tracking your net worth over the last 2 years, and this month the stock market is, playing Mr. Market, and it's down by 5%. So you are not anxious. If you look at Kubera and you look at, okay, although I'm down 5%, I've done pretty well in the last 2, 3 years. So I should not get anxious or sell at the wrong time. So those are the things that when we are able to bring up these behavioral changes with our customers, it makes us happy. That's pretty much what Kubera is all about.
Yeah, no, I think that idea of shifting it to be client facing, I think you see in the interface, you see in the tools you've built behind it, and I do want to tell clients, if they're interested in this, they should reach out to their financial advisor. We can share as well information. One of the great things that Kubera does that a lot of firms don't do is share information with us about which banks in your country or various countries the product works with. You can go check it out on the website if you're not a client of Walkner Condon. Hopefully it will incentivize you as another tool that we use on your behalf. But you can also, if you're an expatriate, sign up with Kubera on your own. You don't need us as a middleman to track your wealth as well. And I think, as you pointed out, having this sort of software is good, even if you're not working with a financial advisor, even if you're just getting started, because it helps hopefully build successful behaviors for the long run. And one of the, as well, you solved a problem that you had, is that you had illiquid investments in your various firms, but you were getting valuations, and so it's easy on a place like Kubera to add that in. So if you're like a lot of our clients or our listeners, that you're involved in that nomad lifestyle, and you have shares of a startup that you're working for in California, but you're living in Portugal, Kubera is a good place to look and check out as well. So, Rohit, really appreciate your time today. Hopefully, we can have you on again in the future and catch up and lots of exciting changes for you guys there. And just thanks again, and have a good weekend and a good Thanksgiving as well.
Thank you, Keith. Happy Friday.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Faulkner Condon Financial Advisors is a registered investment advisor with the SEC. Registration with the SEC does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The opinions expressed by the participants of this podcast are their own and do not reflect the opinions of Faulkner Condon Financial Advisors. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. The information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for any individual. Viewers are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.
You gotta leave your money behind you. Raise your hand to the sky. Ask the masses for silence.